what kind of questions you guys got?
All right, man, let's start with the background. Tell me who you are, where you're from, what you're up to. Give me the synopsis. Pretend I'm...
I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Who you guys from?
Oh. He put on an outfit. Yes.
This is where I'm from.
Oh, fucking Cleveland. Yeah.
All right, so little story about me. So I grew up in Cleveland, right outside of Cleveland, in a little town called, not a little town, but kind of like a suburban town named Parma. It's kind of like kind of your mix. You have your Italian people, normal people, whatever. Grew up in a family of, started out at just two brothers, me and my twin, my younger brother. And by the age of 3, my mom and dad were both started. Well, my dad before, but my mom is when it kicked off their addiction. So my mom was a heroin addict. Dad was addicted to crack cocaine. In and out of jail from the age of 3 to 15. And then I spent from the age of 5 to 6-ish with my grandma. Then 6 to 8 back with my mom. Then 8 to 15 with my grandma. And then from 15 to 18, I lived with my dad. Mm-hmm. I went to that time from around 5 when I started school, 6 years old, till 18. I went to nearly 10 different schools, lived in close to 12 different homes, 2 different states, and all around the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
I've seen some crazy stuff, witnessed some crazier stuff. But the cool thing is, having younger siblings, it teaches you that you have to be, like, people talk about being a leader, right? And sticking up and doing shit that like matters. But really what that comes down to is you just can't say shit. You just can't be like, oh yeah, this is how you do shit. No, because like a kid's not gonna like be like, oh yeah, because this guy said that. No, they're gonna look and see, like right now, you'll look at Gen Zs and particularly you go on Instagram and girls or kids don't want to be the guy that's talking about shit. They want to be the dude that's got fucking chiseled abs and physique, or the girl who looks amazing, right? And that's because that's what they see. So it's not about what you say, it's about what you're doing, right? So what are you doing that sets yourself apart, that'll attract people? And that's what's being a leader. So from a young age, I had a little brother who watched every move my brother and I made. So around 7, 8, we started working on our own, busting our ass, going to work with our grandpa, stuff like that. And then teenage years hit, and we started the lawnmower business, the regular grind, right?
That is still, to this day, my favorite business model ever. If I could go back, I'd probably make more money mowing lawns right now than doing our shit. Like, honestly, like, if I could go back, I totally would. But, yeah.
Every day, he's currently putting together, because he wants to do YouTube for gaming. My brother's a elite level gamer, like, he's nice. Like really, really. So I'm like, dude, he's putting together his PC, everything right now, building his computer, and he's looking at around a $2,000 investment. I'm like, you need to get out and mow lawns, man. Yeah. Like you bust out 10 lawns, 15 lawns a day on a steady, like right now in Ohio, they have like 2.5 feet of snow. You can bust out 10 lawns, 15 lawns a day, 10, $15 a piece. Put that over a course of time, and you're looking at a really good shit. That's probably more money than I make in the military right now. I'll tell you that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But then we got to where else? After young age, all the craziness growing up, you get to school, you start playing sports. I've been always addicted and focused on becoming really a great baseball player, but more so into fitness. So I started out in normal public schools, and then sophomore year after I finished sophomore year, I had the chance to transfer to an elite level school, Catholic school in Ohio named St. Ed's. Some of you guys may hear of it. We're like in a wrestling football powerhouse, but our baseball team's what was really growing at the time. And so I transitioned into there, made some friends, became really close with strength coaches, and just continued to grow, right? And And then senior year came around. My dad's like, yo, so my dad was an ass. And he's like, hey, if your grades drop below all A's, you're not allowed to play. So I got like a B. And he made me quit shit ton of clubs, baseball team that I was looking to go play D3 and then stop lifting. So I went away from the things I love. So what I love is when you find a passion, like you're passionate about marketing. Me, it's fitness. Like my whole life is driven by becoming better. And so when you get into a point where you're constantly driven by something and then that is taken away from you, it just makes you even more hungry to go back at it. So like bunch of stuff happened with us after high school. I left there and I was supposed to go to Xavier University on a scholarship to study marketing and minor in psychology and stuff like that. And then my dad and I got in a huge thing. I left Xavier, was going to transfer to a new school. And at that point, I was walking like 40 minutes a day each way to go to a gym to train in like 20 degrees, working like 8 hours a day and figuring out how I'm going to pay for a $50,000 a year school with decent scholarships, but definitely not a full ride. So my uncle came to me. He's like, hey, man, you just need to get the fuck away from Ohio. Like that does not seem like a great place to be. So I came here. I joined the military and for 5 years as an electrician. So I work on F-18s as an electrician. Pretty boring job, but it's not by no means. It sounds cool. Trust me, it's not. It's definitely not what I want to do. So it really, and that's what I like. It's like people think that you're going to get into a career making. I think you mentioned this last night in your live. Like you need to just find a job where you're making enough money and work on those other things. I tell people all the time, if you're not working on like 5 different things or more at a time, you're just fucking ruining yourself. Just not doing it right. So currently I'm doing that, debating between whether I want to go officer and fly jets. But more so, one thing that keeps sticking at me is helping people, giving to people. So that's the project that I told you about last night. Yeah. And the project is a 100-mile ruck on the loneliest road in America.
Wait, hold on. Describe what a ruck is.
So a ruck is a weighted ruck so I'm going to use a 50-pound pack. So we take a 50-pound pack and you just walk. Typically at a steady pace, around an average person rucks 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah. And for those listening right now, he's mentioning walk. He's in the military. Walking in the military is different than normal walking. So like when we say ruck, like it is a swift walk. And if everyone listening, like if you go jump on a treadmill, set it to that pace and try to walk with it, that is not a slow walk. And it's not like you're going to get burnt out, like cardio-wise, but imagine that for 100 miles. Oh, and by the way, with a 50-pound weight vest, which I don't think most people could last 30 minutes wearing it just standing, right?
Yeah.
So how long, 100-mile ruck, and what is this? Sorry, I'll let you continue, but 100-mile ruck for some sort of charity donation, nonprofit?
Yep. So I've just started training. So a bunch of people keep coming at me like, hey, is this really like worth it? Do you think you could really do this? And I don't think it's about whether or not you can do it. I think it's whether or not if you really want to do it, right? Because no one's just going to wake up and say, yeah, I'm going to ruck 100 miles and they're going to be able to do it. You just can't do that. It's not possible. So the goal is to ruck on July 4th weekend. July 4th, 2021 falls on like a Sunday, I believe or a Saturday this year. So we're going to ruck for around 3 or so days. And the goal is to ruck for a charity named Operation Underground Railroad, which was founded by a CIA operative named Tim Ballard in Draper, Utah. And their mission is to end human trafficking. So they send former SEALs operatives over into these areas to rescue kids who've been trafficked for their whole life, so just taken from their parents, sold off to people, and then are now slaves to sex people, right? And so my goal is to hopefully leverage the platform of sponsors, etc., to gain knowledge, to, grow knowledge about this thing, and then raise money to give to the charity through 100-mile run.
Yeah. By the way, 100-mile ruck, absolute insanity. Evan Park, our COO, he did the 100-mile race. I've done marathons before, and even like a marathon, it's tough for me. I could probably do 50 miles max, but 100, no chance. And on Evan's 100-mile run, which, by the way, this is no weight. No weighted. Not weighted at all. His last, I ran the last 26 miles with him so I could get a marathon in. And, oh my God, was that the most brutal thing ever. That last 26 miles heading into 100, I mean, this man, and he doesn't have an extra weight vest on, but the dude's knee, like his whole body is just going in absolute stress mode. And that took him, I don't know how many hours it takes, but you're talking about like, this is going to take 2-3 days minimum, right?
Yeah. So the pace that we're trying to hold is, so you mentioned the swift pace. Of course, moving at a swift pace, but at times you need to slow down, give your body a break, and let it kind of catch up to itself, especially with lactic acid buildup and soreness. Your joints are going to take a lot of hit. Your feet, especially with blisters, etc., that'll definitely hurt. But for us, we're going to probably try to stick to around a 15 to 20 minute pace between there, near 20 minutes a mile. That's 3 miles an hour. That's in 12 miles. We're around 36 miles a day. So we're trying to hit around 3 days for 100 miles. Middle of July, 100-degree weather, no humidity on the loneliest road in America. From Nevada to Lake Tahoe to raise money for charity. That's the goal.
What road is this? This is in Nevada?
It's called US Highway 50. It runs.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
100 miles long. We're going to take 100 miles of it and walk. It runs through where I'm currently stationed down to Lake Tahoe, and we're going to walk that road. And so I have some friends who join. My brother's going to come down and do logistics side. So he'll drive the car and water, food, stuff like that. And that's kind of the plan right now. A lot of more stuff to consider, wise and planning wise. Whether or not we need to get something for like law wise, because we are rucking down the middle of a highway. So
I like your approach though. Shoot first, aim second. You'll figure it out on the way.
Yeah, I tell people like shoot for the stars, but land in the sky.
Yeah.
You can up there, but if you land in the sky, you're pretty good.
Yeah, well, we'll tell you what, if you open this thing up to the public or whatever sign up and registration, I will sign up myself. I don't know if Evan can because he's running an Uberman race in October or September, which is, I don't know do you know what an Uberman is?
No.
Okay, so an Uberman is like I don't know how many Ironman. It's like 3 Ironmans. So he swims. Yeah. So he's going to swim 22 miles. Which takes like a day, and then he's gonna bike 400 miles, which takes like a day and a half nonstop, and then he's gonna run 135 miles at the Badwater Ultra Marathon course, which is the hardest running course on the planet, and the temperatures there, literally, if you don't run on the white line, your shoes will melt. So there's this thin white line that goes throughout the entire highway there. And if you don't run on it, it will melt. And then the elevation of Badwater, because you go down into Death Valley and then back up, is literally like, it's literally walking like up and down Mount Everest twice. Like it's something insane.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean.
So I'm like, what people keep telling me is because I'm new to rucking. Like I started rucking like a month ago. Like, no joke, this is serious. But like, the reason why it gets to me, it's like, why can't you do it? People like, I don't think you realize how hard this is, but I don't think you realize how like dedicated I am to like doing. It doesn't matter if it's hard or not, because no matter what, if you're prepped for this, if you're trained for this, your feet are going to hurt no matter what. Your hips, your body, everything. Like you could suffer from rhabdo at the end of it when your body's shutting down. Like there's so many things that could go wrong. Yeah. No matter if you train for it, if you don't train for it.
Yeah.
So for me, it's about just preparing myself as best as possible and then just doing it as best as possible. Like, you complete it, you don't complete it. The goal is to just bring awareness to a cause that is so serious through something that is insane. But, you know, if we can bring people, and that's why, so the sponsor that I'm currently trying to gain is GoRuck, which is this bag right here. This is the bag that I'm going to be rucking the 100 miles with. So this bag is it's called the GoRuck GR1. It's about a $300 bag. It's got reinforced padded backing and straps and hip straps and all the fancy stuff. But they're one of the largest rucking companies in America. So what I was mentioning to you is I pitched the idea to them, and I spoke to some other people, and they're like, hey, maybe you should do a little more training before reaching out to them again and get a little more training in. So when you go back to them, you're like, hey, man, I've completed this. I've completed that. I've done this. I've done that. Are you ready to go? But leveraging a community like that and getting people to come out and possibly even do miles with me will just bring more, awareness to what I'm.
Yeah, let's talk another time and strategize on that, because I'll think with Evan on some ideas. He's been wanting with us to do some crazy races and raise for charity and things of that nature. And, I think it's important that you kind of define the why of like why you do shit like that. And for me, we, Evan and I did Hell on Earth about a month and a half ago, which was a marathon preceded by 1,000 push-ups and then 500 pull-ups. And then we were supposed to end the day.
That was insane.
Yeah, and they were supposed to end the day with a 10-mile ruck, and we couldn't even make it because at that point our legs and body just shut down. Like, you spend 5 hours running, then 10 hours doing push-ups and pull-ups, and then So we got close. Not to say that like we were gonna die, but I mean, it was just you get to that moment, your body's like, dude, I can't. So, but I think it's so important for people to sign up for things of that nature or challenge themselves in ways like that, because it's you have to be a lunatic in your mind to do it. But the reason is because you have so much belief and confidence in yourself that I know I can overcome it. And that's the real challenge. Well, a lot of people think that it's physical, and for example, like there's no way on earth to ever train for a 100-mile anything. And the reality is you can train all you want to get ready, but like you said, it's going to suck no matter what. And it's
you guys know, especially from marathons, and I haven't done an Ironman or a marathon yet. In fact, I really hate running. I think it's terrible.
Yeah.
However, it's most of that's mental. Like I've heard from a lot of people, once you hit mile 13, 15, like 20 and stuff like that, you're only going on mental like power strength at that point. Like your legs are destroyed, your feet are killing you. And it's just about, and I think it even comes down to not even how much like strength you have, like how much you don't even have to be the most mentally strong person. I think it does come down to your why. Like at some point you're going to break down. You're going to push past the strength part. You're going to push past the mental part. And your body's just going to be at a point where you're like, you know what, why, and something's going to happen. But the one thing that's got to keep you going is that why. Like, what are you doing this for? For me, like I told some friends and some family earlier when we were talking about this, it's not even the money. It's not even the things that I gain, the people that would come or the things that would come out of this, it's the one person who could learn about this cause.
Yeah.
That's what matters. The one person who donates, the one person who maybe comes and joins me. It doesn't need to be a group of people. It doesn't need to be 1 million people. It just needs to be one. And if you can just help one person realize how big this problem is in the world, that's like a successful event. Now I'm going to do 100 miles for one person, and people will be like, is that really like you could just donate money on yourself and you're helping out. Yeah, but that's not the same as me going out and saying, you know what, I'm going to show how much this means to me. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to draw people in by showing how passionate I am about it.
Yeah. No, I think it's no different than any relationship or business transaction where it's like, hey, I really want to earn this business, I need to show them that. Not just call, not just text. You got to show them. Yeah. And, you know, for me, it really is about that why, because so when I ran my first marathon, it was about a year ago. And what had happened was my cousin, who was 17 years old at the time, he passed away and committed suicide. And so devastating, never expected, whatever. And the way I had to cope with that was I was like, I got to put this energy and stress somewhere else. Like I got to put it into something. And I said, okay, there's a marathon in 40 days. I'm going to start training for it and run it and run it. And I'm going to make it happen. And I've never been a great runner. The most I had run in my life to that point was 3.2 miles, a 5K. And I said, you know what, I'm gonna figure this out. So trained my ass off, ran a half marathon as kind of a prep, and it went horrible. And I was like, God, this is gonna be fucking tough, whatever. So I roll up there on the day of the marathon, I'm not prepped at all, and we're going, and at about mile 15, mile 16, it starts breaking down. And when I say to people it starts breaking down, it's not like your leg hurts or this thing hurts or you're starting to get worried about whatever. It is literally, you will get to the point, and this is going to happen to you on that 100-mile ruck, and it happens to people all the time. You're going to get to the point where it's no different than putting your hand on a hot stove. You're going to put your hand on the hot stove, it's going to get too hot, and your body and brain is going to tell you to take that goddamn hand off the stove. And in this case, it's going to tell you to stop running. And it's not saying, hey, it's probably a good idea to take it off. It's no different than, you know, like I said, it's putting your hand on a hot stove. Your brain doesn't say, hey, Jake, it'd probably be a good idea to take your hand off the hot stove. No, it forces it off. And you gotta have the mental fortitude to keep it down on there. And so, you know, that's what I was able to do through that process. And what's crazy is I'm coming up on mile 22. I had been cramping every single quarter mile. So every single quarter mile, something would tighten up. And when I say cramping, not like a cramp, like I had just been, like I'm running in Call of Duty and just got shot, because it just completely seizes up, tightens up, to the point where I literally and I didn't have a roller with me, so I'm just punching it. I'm just punching my leg back into place, like my quads, my hamstrings, whatever, my calves. And so I get to mile 22, and I know my parents are there. And I'm like, you know what? I gotta call it quits. Like, there's no way I can do this. And so as I'm rolling up on them, I'm starting to slow down a little bit. I'm figuring out like what I'm gonna say. I'm like, thank God I'm gonna be done with this. And as I'm doing it, my uncle, the father of my cousin who passed away, like comes up out of nowhere. I didn't know he was going to be there. They didn't know I was really running for him. But I see him there, and with the rest of my family, and I'm about a quarter of my way. I can still see him, and I'm like, dude, I can't fucking quit. Like, who am I to fucking quit right now? Like, what big of a pussy am I to do that? So then I fought through, crushed it, and ever since then, I've never had to train for a marathon or anything of that nature. I just roll out there, fucking run it, because, and that's what I love most about when you complete shit like that. It's not just that physical, you know, moment or mental moment that you were able to overcome. It applies to everything else. Because now when I got to work 16 hours a day, or I got to do this shit I don't want to do, or I got to, you know, hustle my face off on this thing, or go for hours on end on this thing, it's easy because I'm like, you know what? I ran a fucking marathon without training. I can do this. Like, I'll be fucking fine. And that's what I love most about it, is once you overcome those, you stack it and you're like, yo, that's on my resume. So fuck, that's easy. I can do that anytime I want.
Yep. That's fucking dope. Yeah. That was, I don't know. Cause I was sitting there, I was thinking about it, like the fact that you didn't even train and still went for it. And I think the same way in regards to this ruck, you know, like I have no idea how to program for a ruck. Like, so I do CrossFit. Previously did powerlifting, and I'm still into powerlifting. You know, I run a shit ton, swim a shit ton, bike a shit ton, all these things, right? I could tell you how to program a lot of training, how to do recovery, nutrition, etc. Rucking, I have no idea where to even begin. You know, I have a couple buddies who have done, who went to Buds, friends who are SEALs and stuff like that, who have given me advice in regards to that area, because they've done 50-mile rucks, they've done 40, 30-mile rucks. But I don't even think that's the thing that makes it special. Like, yeah, you need to prepare yourself, but when you know you're like fully prepared, that doesn't make it special. Mm-hmm. You know, what makes it special is when you roll up like, you know what, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. It's like when you roll into a business meeting with a huge client. You're like, you know what? I have no idea if this is going to go good, if they're going to just tell me to get the fuck out of their office, whatever. But when you like actually like, you know what, get that signature on the paper and he's like, you know what, man, I'm so happy to have you as a partner. You're like, fuck yeah, I just literally did that and had no idea I could do it. You know,
that's big time.
Cool about it.
So my final thing I want to dive into with you is around the military aspect, and specifically the the discipline, the structure, the just like a day in life, what that looks like, and everything going on. Because for me, I've always said that and this is weird, but I've always said I'm really envious of people in the military, not because it's easy, like that's just like the hardest shit on the planet, right? But yeah. I'm envious because you are surrounded by the most badass group of motherfuckers on the planet. And we're talking like, and that's not always the case at every division. We're not talking, if you go to like the top of the Navy SEALs, of course, who's there is going to be like, your Goggins types and so on. But I'm always like, you know what? I don't have the balls to go to war or to fight with the best of the best Navy SEALs, but God, would I kill to spend an hour in a room with the people on SEAL Team 6 or whatever, because it's just such a so energizing. So talk me through that. And I know that's not the case for everyone there, but what's it like being in that environment?
So when I first joined, of course, you have the you're super pumped. You're like, oh my God, I'm going to the military, stuff like that. But once you actually get there is when really it hits you. It's like, so for me personally, I'm not a Navy SEAL, definitely not in Special Forces, and I don't work with anyone in Special Forces. I've, of course, been around some guys who've gone through and who haven't made it or who did. And I've met a lot of guys who have been around that type of environment. But me personally, one thing that sticks out the most is the loneliness. This is a really lonely road, right? So I haven't seen family in a year. My first time seeing my brothers, my mom, my grandparents, everyone will be when I go home for this Christmas, right? And that'll be a full year since you're away from them. And so every day when you wake up and you don't have, that best friend around or girlfriend or family, and you know what, the only person I have to answer to today is myself. And if I don't prove it to myself that I can get this done, then who the hell can I prove anything to? Right. So when you wake up every day, it teaches you that, yes, you have to be structured and yes, you have to get this done. But when I show up for work, I'm not only doing this job for myself. Like, I love the military. I don't know how many years I'll serve. But most importantly, the thing I really love is that we on our uniform have this thing where we say, on over our heart is the U.S. Navy and over our right side is our family. So yes, we always have to, do this for our family, but most importantly for the people. So like there's 8 million people in this, or like 8 billion people on the planet, right? And then there's like 400 million or some in the country, right? So out of the 400 million in the United States, you represent all of them, right? So if I go to war, the reason I wake up every day is because then my mom can wake up, my brothers can wake up and do the things they want to do. Right. Yeah. So if I can come here and make this little simple sacrifice for the 5 years of my life, and where I can still wake up every day, I can go to the gym, I can still work on things like rocks and business shit, whatever I want to do, that's fine. But the 8 hours, 9, 10, 16 hours I spend at work doing things for the country means so much more than the simple job where I just show up and work and go home.
Yeah, and even then, it's not just the country and it's not just 400 million people, because, and I'm all for, and, not to get political, but I'm all for globalization, and, I'm not a big guy of like nationalism, this thing, that, and the other. But the reality is, to argue that the U.S. is not the number one in the world is to just ignore the facts, and I'm all for that. And so it's not just 400 million Americans, it's really the 8 billion people on the planet today, and the 8 billion people on the planet tomorrow, 100 years from now, when we're all dead, right? And so on, maybe it's 12 billion, whatever, continued, because when you look at the innovation, technology, and the people and the culture, the majority of that is driven through the United States. And look at the world economies right now, and the state of California has the 5th largest GDP in the world. If it was a country, it would be the 5th largest GDP in the world. So we're not like outside of China and Japan and Germany, and I think India just passed them. It's bigger than everyone else. So just California, right? So this is, this is so much bigger than that. And everything you're doing today, like you said, it's not only just impacting today, it's impacting tomorrow. Because if we couldn't exist in this environment, if we couldn't do the things, if we didn't have the defense that we have, where people can sit at home and say, hey, we have not had any wars outside of civil wars on U.S. territory, and certainly not in the middle of fucking Kansas City, right? Like, I'm feeling safe right in the middle of the country, right? But, we just have that sense of security and safety and confidence. And I think that's what allows us to do what we do best, which is to lead the world in a lot of areas. And, maybe at a global political scale, whether you're on the left or the right, it really doesn't matter. Yeah, we fuck up here and there, but for the most part, to argue with the dominance of the U.S. is just horseshit. Like, people telling me, like, oh, Europe, they got healthcare for everyone and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, and they get stomped in every world war, and that's why. And this is why this happens. And go look at the economies of those countries and a lot of the terrorist issues they deal with. Like, that's the reason why. So anyway, that's super my political skew on things, but I just love it, man, because it's like, it's not just 400 million people. It's like the 400 million people leading shit.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's so important to realize, and even just the people I work with, like a lot of people I work with, they're not the ones that, not all of them are the guys that wake up like, yeah, I want to be the fucking next Bill Gates or Oprah Winfrey, making so much money you can't even, see straight. There's so much. But the people I work with are all the same ones who put their right hand up and said, you know what, I want to go give my life away for the next 4, 5, 6 years, when they didn't have to do that. And which is super cool and super badass, that you could do that. And there's the ones that come in like, yeah, I just want free fucking college or whatever the fuck they want. But then there's the ones that are really here for a reason. And those are the ones that, you have so much respect for, because the fact that they just left, me personally, I had great scholarships to top universities and gave it all the way to come here to just serve my country. And while some days you'll sit back and you're like, this is a lonely road, it's a super depressing time. Sometimes like you can sit here and you'll have times where you'll break down and cry and have like super crazy moments with yourself. But those are the times you just need to suck it up, realize what you're doing it for. Same with anything you do, any project, business, startup, whatever you start. There's going to be times when you're going to sit back and cry and break down and just have moments where you're like, this really fucking sucks. But when you just realize why you're doing it and the reason for why you're doing it, that's when it all makes it worthwhile.
That's badass, man. That's a killer fucking story. Abram, we get some good clips?
Yes, we did.
Nice. All right, man. Dude, that was killer. You have a badass story. I hadn't heard everything.
Hell yeah. Well, there's a lot more to it, but that's what I can give today, I guess.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, let's, you know what? Let's stay in touch on the Ruck. Let's see what we can do there. I think we could help with some sponsors and things of that nature.
Cool.
But yeah, let's let things progress and then chat on that. And let's obviously stay in touch. And I'll send you these clips before they go out. But damn, bro, you spit some heat. That was some good shit.
Well, the biggest thing is how to promote this through social. Like, I have no social following, of course, at all. And of course, I'd like to push that more and grow that. But how to promote this, because Gen Z is who's on social media.
Yeah.
And I want to push to, the older people with millions of fucking dollars. That'd be great. The ones who are really going to pick up on this and really impact the world for the next 20, 50 years are Gen Z, right? Yeah. If they don't know about this, then who the hell is going to know about this? Because our moms and grandparents are going to be gone soon, but our brothers and sisters are going to be here for a long ass time.
Yeah, definitely.
That's the big thing that I'm trying to do now.
We'll chat on some strategies, my man. We'll make that shit the next big thing.
Sweet. All right, man. Well, you guys have a great day. Keep fucking killing shit.
Oh, we will. Talk to you soon, my man.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.